Good morning, afternoon, or evening, everybody. It's Megan and Coda here, and we're going to tell you all about urobilinogen. And we're going to take our ears off, too, because we don't like our ears. So, what is urobilinogen? Well, first, you have your little blood vessels with your blood cells, and they're just chilling, doing their thing. Something happens, intravascular hemolysis occurred, and they are going to burst. That releases hemoglobin and your bilirubin. So we'll call this bilirubin. So while it's in your system floating around like that, it is unconjugated and it's bound to albumin. It's got to get transported. So, unconjugated bilirubin is going to float down to the liver. That looks just like that. And the liver is going to conjugate it. That way the kidneys can get rid of it. So, conjugated bilirubin leaves. Conjugated billy. So, it's going to leave. And it's going to float down your bile ducts. So, that's your bile duct, apparently. And then it will be converted to urobilinogen, and then the kidneys get rid of it. So, to recap, blood cells, right, Coda? Here, you want to take over? Blood cells burst, bilirubin, liver, bile duct, kidneys, urobilinogen in the pee. That's all you need to know. So, when we test for urobilinogen, as Shani will say later in the video, she's going to walk us through the chemical reactions and everything. Your limitations with these two, you got to be careful, guys. With your Ehrlich strip thing there, you got to be careful of those Ehrlich reactive compounds. They're going to give you false positives. Those little guys are porphobilinogen, indican, p-aminosalicylate acid, sulfonamides, methyldopa, procaine, and chlorpromazine compounds. So you have any of those in the pee, you're going to get a false positive, which is no bueno. Your sensitivity increases with temperature, so you want to do it at room temp. If you're doing it when it's like in the fridge for whatever reason, or you just pulled your urine out of the fridge, you're gonna get a false decrease. It's not gonna work. And highly pigmented urines may cause a false positive. So if you have a lot of blood cells in there, so it's very red, you're gonna get a false positive. And other compounds can give a false negative too. For your chem strip, the limitations with that is that high concentrations of nitrite will interfere, so it'll block that azo-coupling reaction that's going on, and you'll get a false negative. Other than that, though, your chem strip is good to go with those. In terms of both of them, though, they will both show a false negative if they're not properly preserved, because your urobilinogen will really easily photooxidize into urobilin, false negatives. The other thing that'll cause it is if formalin is used as a preservative, because just as the other thing, it'll completely block those reactions and you can't get anything out of it. So that's our little magoos there. And Coda, you gotta. All right, so we're gonna sign off now, and we're gonna turn things over to Shani and Jessi, and they're gonna go over the rest of the reactions. Isn't that right, Coda? Whoa! Oh, she's done. All right.
Good morning, afternoon, evening, whenever you're watching this. I'll be doing the clinical significance and disease association with urobilinogen, tests that correlate to urobilinogen, as well as the reference interval. Increased urobilinogen in the urine, meaning greater than 1 milligram per deciliter, is clinically significant and is useful in the detection of early liver disease, liver disorders such as hepatitis, cirrhosis, and carcinoma, as well as in hemolytic disorders. It's worth mentioning that there is some small degree of patients, about 1% of non-hospitalized and 9% of hospitalized, that when they're tested regularly present with elevated urobilinogen. Now, this is usually not owing to disease, but instead to constipation. When the liver is impaired, the liver has a decreased ability to process urobilinogen recirculated from the intestine. This excess urobilinogen that remains in the blood is filtered by the kidneys and thus then appears in the urine. Clinical jaundice associated with hemolytic disorders results from increased amounts of unconjugated bilirubin circulating in the blood. This unconjugated bilirubin is then presented to the liver to be conjugated. This results in marked increases in the amount of conjugated bilirubin entering the intestine, thus producing increased amounts of urobilinogen. When this excess is reabsorbed, it gets circulated through the kidneys and excreted in the urine. And when this process happens, the liver is already overworked and is unable to process reabsorbed urobilinogen efficiently. And this adds additional urobilinogen to be excreted in the urine. Basically what this means is that in hemolytic disorders, you'll see very increased amounts of urobilinogen compared to, say, liver disease. And then it's also worth mentioning that although it's not detected by the reagent strip, the absence of urobilinogen from urine and feces is also diagnostically important. This is usually representative of an obstruction of the bile duct, preventing the passage of bilirubin into the intestine. So the test that correlates with urobilinogen is the test for bilirubin. In liver impairment, urine urobilinogen is increased, while urine bilirubin may be either positive or negative. In hemolytic diseases, urine urobilinogen is markedly increased, while urine bilirubin is negative. In bile duct obstructions, urine urobilinogen is either normal or absent, while urine bilirubin is markedly increased. The reference interval for urobilinogen is less than 1 milligram per deciliter, also known as less than an Ehrlich unit if you're using multi-sticks, and anything greater than 1 milligram per deciliter is considered abnormal.
The principle behind using a chemical reagent strip for urinalysis is to provide an easy, quick, and effective method for determining pathological changes to a patient's urine. The test can provide results within a 30 to 120 second time frame. Each reagent pad on the strip may have a different time frame in which results are produced, but they will all fall within the 30 to 120 second time frame. For the test in the following video, urobilinogen is detected using the diazo coupling reaction, which is more specific for urobilinogen than the Ehrlich's reaction. In the diazo coupling reaction, urobilinogen reacts with 4-methoxybenzene and diazonium salt to produce a pink to brownish red color on the test pad. In the Ehrlich reaction, urobilinogen reacts with p-dimethylamino-benzaldehyde to produce a red color. Take a look. So I'm going to be showing you how to use the urinalysis chemical strips. The strips are light sensitive, which is why they're kept in an opaque or dark container. Every container comes with a chart where you can match up the colors of the strip. So this test actually has a color code for each. The color changes range from pink to brown red on this strip for urobilinogen. And you'll notice on the chart for each test, there's a time frame a recommended time frame for these tests that you have to wait before you can actually read them. So for urobilinogen, the time frame is going to be 30 to 60 seconds, and you want to read your results within that time frame. Otherwise, the color pad will change and your results won't be accurate. All right, so urobilinogen has a specific color, and you'll see here you can match the test strip up to the chart, and depending upon what's present in the urine, the test pad colors will change. So there's a sheet that comes inside this container that lists all the tests that it does, and it lists the chemical reactions that take place for each test, which is one of the reasons why you can't use a test pad from one manufacturer on another manufacturer's chart, if that makes sense.